source at the beginning and then you remove it, and sometimes even you have the source at the beginning, like for example 10 volt, then you added another 20 volt. So you change the sources by the either switching or by using the unit step function, correct? If you remember the unit step function, we define, like when I say, for example, ut minus 2, this is mean what? This means that this function is equal to the 1 when the argument, when inside of the parenthesis, when the time is positive, like when t is larger than 2, and is 0 when the inside, which is t minus 2, is negative, correct? So this is like a switch. This act like a switch at the time t equal to the 2. So in the problems, you saw that sometimes they have a switch, sometimes they use what? Unit step function at the time differences. So in a problem similar to this, that I'm going to do one example, if it is the RL or RC, the response in general is a sum of the two functions, because when we apply KVL, we saw that we come with integral differential equation. So when it is integral, you calculate the derivatives and you come with differential equation. When we solve the differential equation in the math, always the solution is sum of two solutions. One is the homogeneous solution, which here we call it natural response or transient response. One is the what? Particular solution. Is a solution due to your forcing function, which in engineering we call that force response or a steady state response. So most of the time we call that, even in your other courses, we call that the steady state response. And this one is the source-free or natural or transient response. So the transient response is always due to the initial energy that is stored either in inductors or capacitors. Force response or a steady state response is due to your input voltage source or current sources, correct? This transient response is always exponential function, because when the initial energy which is stored is used and changed as a heat to the resistors, this response goes to 0. So always a transient response is an exponential function, is a decaying function, correct? So this one is due to the source, depending that what is your source. So we call that a steady state. Last time I showed you that this K, the constant K, is a difference between the initial response, now if it is current, current, if it is voltage, voltage, correct? And the force response. So this is the K between the initial and final or force response. Now, the tau is a time constant, which is for RL circuit is L equivalent over R equivalent. For RC circuit is R equivalent times what? C equivalent, correct? Now, if my initial time, T0 is 0, this T0 is canceled, so your equation changed to this equation. So that's the general one. If here I put T0, 0, you come with this equation, correct? Now, in solving these problems for this chapter, you have to come, and the same thing I will go here is for the RC. For RC, we calculate is a dual of RL. Your I changes to the V. Your R changes to the 1 over R. If there is, your L changes to the C. That's the duality principle, okay? So here you have for the voltage, the K is a difference between the initial voltage, final voltage, Time constant is R equivalent times what? C equivalent. So 1 over R changed to the R, L changed to the C, correct? So the two things you need to remember here to solve the problem of homework 7, homework 8, okay, that current through the inductors is a continuous function and inductor acts as a short circuit to DC. Here, the voltage across capacitors is a continuous. So before switching, right after switching is remain the same. And you open the capacitors when it is connected to DC. Another thing you need to remember in a circuit that there is a dependent sources because we cannot calculate the R equivalent directly. That's the same as R Devlin. Actually, it's always, but when it is no dependent source, we don't need to go Devlin equivalent. But when there is a dependent source, it's better we calculate a Devlin equivalent across the inductors or capacitors and to get the R. Because other than that, we cannot eliminate the dependent sources. Because how we calculate the R equivalent? R equivalent is equivalent resistors across inductors or capacitors of the dead network. What I mean by dead network, you shorted independent voltage source and you open independent current source. But if there is a dependent source, they stay. So I don't know what is the resistors across the dependent source. So that's why we have to go to this method. Okay, any question in the review of these chapters before I start any example? Any question?
No.
No? Are we doing okay with the basic, yes? Okay, so we need to keep this. This is the only things you need from those chapters, 6, 7, 8, basically, to do the problems. The remaining is depend how you use this information. So if somebody come in this class says, oh, I forgot the formula, there is nothing formula. There is one formula. And then you change I to the V, okay, for all this basic. Then your previous knowledge of Kirchhoff current law, voltage law, current division, voltage division, which is from exam 1, you needed to solve these problems. Is that clear? So everything related to each other. Okay, so do you have any problem in your mind that you want I solve, or you want I do one problem of the homeworks? Yeah, okay. We did few examples, but let's I go to this example from my note before I go to homeworks. Okay. With the dependent source. Okay. See, imagine I give you this question and I ask you calculate the voltage across capacitors. Okay. So the first thing come to your mind, you're going to say, okay, this guy, because on the final exam, you have DC and AC sources. So that's why first you have to look at it. Is this DC source? Okay, so the formula I know is this formula that you have here, correct? Or I write it here. We know that VC of t is V at the 0 minus VF exponential of minus theta plus VF, correct? That's the formula. Now, so because it's capacitor, I write for voltage. If it is inductors, I write for current, and I can calculate voltage later. Here, if you know the voltage across capacitor, if they ask current, you calculate the voltage, then the current is what? C dV to dt. So that's why when it is capacitor, I write voltage. Even if they ask current, I can get the current as a what? C dVc to dt. So if it is RL, If it is inductors, you write the current, the same equation for current. Is that clear? Okay. Now, in all this problem, I need to get the initial voltage, final, and time constant. So initial, steady state values, and time constant. But to get a time constant, I know that time constant is R equivalent times C equivalent. Okay. C, okay, there is one capacitor. But what is the R equivalent? Is equivalent resistor across the capacitors of the dead network. Okay, I can short this voltage source because it's independent. I can short this one, but there is a problem here. What I do with this? If I close this shorted, they are two resistors, but I cannot eliminate this dependent source. So that's why in a problem like this, I says, okay, the best way to do it, get the Devlin equivalent across this capacitor, because R equivalent is R Devlin, same as R Devlin. When the capacitor or inductor act as a load. Is that clear now, why I go to Devlin? Any question before we go even start solving? Any question? Is that clear why I'm going to that? Yes? Okay. So sometimes in the chat at least, so, okay, you can say yes. So now I'm going to, for this problem, I say, I will go calculate a Devlin equivalent across the capacitor. So capacitor act as a load. So you go to the problem of chapter 1. So you don't care what it is, inductor or capacitor. I want to get a equivalent, Devlin equivalent across A and B. Okay. How we did that? V Devlin, you remember, V Devlin is open circuit voltage. I Norton is what? Short circuit current. Do you remember this? R Devlin is V Devlin over what? I Norton, if you want. So these are the things I remember. Okay. Is there, you write these things in the exam, I might give you 2-3 points. Okay, you know that, but it's not going to let you go, no? So what you're going to do is just go here, open this, and I say, so I want the voltage between A and B. So that's what V Devlin it is. So don't scare from the name of the Devlin or Norton. Somebody asking you, calculate the voltage between A and B. So when we want to get a voltage, we can apply KVL always, correct? So this voltage I call here VOC or V Devlin, both is the same thing. So if I apply KVL to this loop, I can write it as, what is the current? What is the voltage across 4 ohm? All this current come, all goes here. Why all of these two VC? VC is this voltage, which is in this problem now is the same as the what? V Devlin or V open circuit. Is voltage here. 2 VC is the voltage here. Voltage across capacitor. So all this current, see, as I'm solving this problem, I'm reviewing everything you had before. Other than that, this problem should be take 1 minute. But I'm reviewing all the lecture you had for those of you that forgot this material, okay? And closing these chapters because completely we're going to different things today. Okay, all this current goes through here. Nothing goes here. Why nothing goes here? Because this is open, because we open this one, correct? Open circuit current is 0. So that's why the voltage here is 2 times of the VC or VOC times 4. Then you go here, minus 180 U of t, the voltage here, whatever is this written. Plus, is there any voltage here? No, because the current here is 0. This is open. So you jump here, the voltage here is VOC, and the voltage here is 90. So you close this loop, applying KVL. Any question in this equation? All this current goes here. Why? Because this is open. So no current goes to open circuit, correct? So I apply KVL to this loop, moving clockwise. You have the voltage here, which is this current times this, plus minus this voltage, plus the voltage here I call VOC, plus 90. So from here, you solve it for VOC. The answer, of course, is in terms of U of t, because this exists. This is 180 volt when t is positive, and 0 when t is negative. So my open circuit voltage, or V Devlin, both all the same, is this. So when t is negative, this is 0, so it's negative 10 volt. When t is positive, this is 20 minus 10 is 10 volt. Correct? Then, any question until here? Then I need to get short circuit current. Okay. Short circuit, you're going to short between A and B. You connect A to the B. When I connect A to the B, what is the voltage VC is equal? Short circuit voltage is equal to what? 0, correct? So when I connect A to the B, VC is 0, so you come back here. This is 0. When this is 0, no current here, correct? So when that one is 0, 2VC is 0. So your circuit is going to be what? Without this, just here with the short circuit, correct? Then again, I write it KVL for this circuit now. So I will put for you here because I really don't want it to. See, you have this one. For those of you who don't see. So you have this 5, you short it here, and this is 90 volt. This current I call short circuit current. This is 5 ohm, and this is whatever it is, and 4. Okay? So again, you just have one loop. You apply KVL to this loop. So you have 4 times I short circuit. 4 and 5 is 9. 9 I short circuit minus this plus 90 is 0. So that's what I write it for you here.
No, Professor?
Yes.
I'm sorry, could you please explain one more time why the dependent source?
Because this voltage is VC, correct? This voltage. They call it VC here. Is that correct? When VC is 0, because short circuit voltage is what? 0.
Oh,
so
okay.
This is 0, this is 0. So you open this back, correct?
Okay, thank you.
So sure. So from here, you have one equation here. You apply KVL to this loop. So you got short circuit current. Okay, so what is R Devlin? V Devlin over short circuit or I Norton. So when I divided these two together, you come R Devlin is 1 ohm. So we got the Devlin equivalent between A and B, which is this circuit. The V Devlin or V open circuit is 20, U of t minus t. R Devlin is 1 ohm. So this circuit is changed to this. Instead of analyzing this one now, we analyze this. You see how simple it is now. But you need to know your first midterms. It's very important first midterm. You wanted to pass this, you want to be good on the 309 or other courses, you need to know those material, especially for electrical engineering student, because after this, you need to take 309, correct? So here, we got, now instead of analyzing this, we go here. So we write our equation, which is the same equation we had in the top. VF, or I forgot to put VF here. Because remember, sometimes instead of VF, We put what? V at the infinity, which means the final values, steady state values. Okay, and tau is R times C. So now R is 1, C is 40 microfarad. So you just put it here. Now, how much is VC at 0? Okay, now you go to here. When T is less than 0, the voltage here. Remember, the capacitor acts as an open because this is DC. So the voltage here is the same as the source voltage, correct? When T is less than 0, this is negative 10. So your VC 0 is negative 10. When T is larger than 0, this is 20 minus 10 is 10. So I put 10 here, negative 10 here, VC infinity is positive 10, and you got the tau, so you get your equation. See, VC 0 is what? 20, 20, which is 20 U of T negative, correct? Minus 10. This one is 0, so it's come to negative 10. VF is come to what? Positive 10. So you just put in this equation. Is that clear? But and then you, of course, they ask you to plot it, you can plot it. So that's what the voltage across capacitor look like. It starts from minus 10 and it's charged to what? 10 volt. So stay as a 10 volt. Okay, that's the steady state value. The capacitor later, if you want to use that, is act as a 10 volt source, voltage source of the 10 volt. Okay, any question here? So this example and the examples which is on the homework 8, the last one, it shows that when there is a dependent source, if this is an inductors, you do the same thing. The inductors act as an open circuit, and you just calculate Devlin equivalent across inductors. But for inductors, then we write what? I instead of V. Okay, any question here? Are we doing okay? Thank you. All 31 of the students is in the class. It seems my attendance when I'm doing the online is more than the one in the class, huh? So which one you guys like more, coming to the class or doing the online?
I like the class better.
You like class better?
Same.
Okay, most of you class better, huh?
Class is better. Class is way better.
Much better?
Yeah, there's no virus while classes in session.
Oh, I see.
It's
Yeah,
also easier
hopefully-
to ask questions.
I heard that the summer classes are also going to be virtual.
Yep.
But hopefully they find a vaccination for this corona and it doesn't come back on the fall. I like the also classes better because I like to walk. I don't like to sit. My back is hurt more when I sit. Okay,
Professor,
sure.
sorry, I have a kind of a dumb question, but
No, there is no dumb question.
okay. On the homework for section 8, it says see a handout. Which handout is that exactly?
Oh, the homework. No, I say stand up because that problem was, that is the solution of homework 8, just homework 8. Because that problem wasn't from your new book. So that's why they call handout. It's not handout, just homework 8.
Okay.
Okay, sure. Okay, now that was, for example, in my note, another example. That's for the inductors. See, if you read this example, now, because there is a dependent source, I have to go to what? Calculate Devlin equivalent across inductors. So I did that. Okay, calculate the Devlin equivalent. So that acts as a load. Again, we go get the open circuit voltage, short circuit current, get R Devlin, and you calculate the Devlin equivalent. And then this time, for it, because it is inductors, you write which equation? You say your I LT is I0 minus IF exponential of minus theta plus what? IF, because it's inductor. But it's still the procedure is the same. See, because you cannot memorize all the problem, correct? So if you learn the concept right and you follow the step by step and trust to yourself, there is no way you miss it. And know the exam, the exam number 1, which is the basic, most important for this class: KVL, KCL, voltage division, current division, nodal mesh, all those things, okay? But the important one is the KVL, KCL, and Ohm's law, very basic, but you need those things. So I calculated Devlin equivalent here, like what we do, open circuit voltage. You say so all this current goes here. Why all this current goes here? Because this is open again, correct? Then you apply KVL to the loop, get open circuit. Then you shorted this one between A and B, and you calculate what? Short circuit current. I did it using the KCL, says I short circuit plus I1 is this current. You apply KCL. See, very basic things we use, KCL, KVL, to solve the problem. So then I get the R Devlin, open circuit to short circuit. You calculate the Devlin equivalent when you go home. Try to do it yourself and then follow up. And then you apply this equation, correct? And here your tau is L over R. Just one inductors, one resistors. Very simple. Is that clear? Okay, so that was basically the things from the, where is it, my note for here? I don't want to put. That is the review of this. But I told you guys, oh, now you see my, where is it? Sorry, you see my, just put one over here. So I don't know where I need, the place I sit, is the light is okay or not? This is my dining room, because in my office, I can go to the office, but is that the background is bother you or not? We're doing okay if I sit here and I teach.
This is fine.
Fine. Okay. Now, what I was, I was telling, I remember I told that with a review, I asked your question, and Thursday you're going to have one quiz, correct? Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay, because for me, I don't know how that works. At the beginning of the class, I'm going to try to use titanium, give the quiz for you at the beginning. It's just a test, okay, to see how that works. So I will bring it, the problem, I write it for you here, like choose one of the circuit. You have a piece of the paper, either, get the picture of that problem or just write it. And then you solve it and get the pic. I don't know, you guys are maybe more technical than teach me. I don't know how that works. But in titanium, there is assignment that you can download it to titanium. Do you all know how to do it? Yes or no?
I do.
You do. Okay, so teach from it to each other or try to go your titanium. So then you will solve, I give you like 15-minute time, okay? Leave your video open, then I can see you guys. Because that's the only way I have to see what I'm going to do later, okay? Then you downloaded that one to the titanium, okay? And I give you enough time, and then I say, please download now. I open that assignment, and you just go, and for example, I put quiz name, like quiz number, I don't know, it's 4 or 5, then you just go download it. Or if you have problem, which I don't really like it, you email me because it's so hard to email, and I get so many email, 120 students, it's so confusing. And another things I forget, whenever you have an email me, don't please always tell your class. Says, because I don't memorize all this name. Says, I am, for example, Tony from 203, okay? Then I go to your 203, or I'm such and such from 320. So the best way is you all go learn the titanium and download it to the titanium. Is that clear?
Professor, can I make a suggestion on the time limit?
What? Yeah, the time
Suggestion.
there is going to be.
Can we extend it to closer to like 20 minutes? That way we have 15, basically 15 full minutes to do the quiz. And then that gives us a couple of extra minutes to make sure we have time to take the pictures, scan it. And
yes, I give you like 5 more minutes.
Yeah, just that way we're not reducing, because I feel like if we do a strict 15-minute limit, it impacts whether or not we can do it.
Try it as a trial also. I give you 50 minutes, 5 more minutes. And then let's see if this works, hopefully, okay? It's going to be my first time. You know, I never did that. So, and your first time. So let's see how that works, what is the best way. Or if any one of you know a little, another way to do it, some other faculties, they did, let me know also, okay? So.
Professor?
Yes.
So I've actually never submitted something on titanium. Most of my professors use like a Dropbox. Is there, like, could you explain how to do that?
I guess if you go to your titanium, there was I never was on the student side, but I'm sure it is the same. On the right-hand side, I may send you something if I find it. On the right-hand side, there is like a wheel. You go there, and then there is like says added something. I know how to do it. I cannot explain now. But if you play, or one of the students, maybe ask from one of the students to do that, or I maybe by Thursday, I can learn the Dropbox. How they did on the Dropbox, they open a file and you guys download to that file.
Yeah, so they make a Dropbox folder and they share it with every student in their class.
Which faculty?
But I don't know what's easier. For my lab, for 203 lab, that's what they were doing.
Who is the faculty doing that? So I will.
I think his name is Hilfi Mohammed.
Oh, Hilfi, yeah, yeah. That titanium, I think, is better, but I will Dropbox also. I try to do it. So some of you, let's see what we can do. Try to learn titanium. If not, I open in the Dropbox a file, and then you download it on that. So what you do, you get a picture of your quiz and download it to the Dropbox file. That should be very easy also. So we can try both of it, okay? I prefer titanium. So, but for the first quiz, I will do the Dropbox, but later try to learn it, okay?
Okay.
Any other? Okay. So what I wanted you to study is that I told you last time is homework 7 and homework 8. All the solution is there. Of course, is not the way that I explained, like what I did, but try to work with that. You know, it is the problem. All of them, I cancel, I guess, number 69, correct? The last one. So you don't need it to read it. So homework 7 and homework 8, correct? Okay, any other question? Okay. So these problems, homework 7 is very easy. Those are for source free. See, when you go homework 7, there is no IF here. Just is IM, because that's for the source free. So that's why whenever you want it, if you write the general formula, your IF is going to be 0. So that homework 7 is more source free. Homework 8 is the harder because have the both of them and the general that we will do. The first two problem is just telling you how very simple. So it's not going to be similar to this, but it's going to make you ready. The main problem for me that is helping you to understand is like, for example, 56, 57, okay, and 65. These are related to the what we did here, and 68. You need these things just to know how the U of T work, how you open it, very basic things. So just the last 4 problem is the one similar to the what I'm going to ask, okay? Okay, any other question? That's the end of this. So now I want to move.
Professor, I believe you have a question in the chat regarding the solutions for homework 7 and 8.
In the chat, oh.
Yeah, students asking if the solutions for 7 and 8 have been posted on Titanium.
It takes about 5 to 7 minutes to, oh. Okay, solution for homework 7. Yes, they are in Titanium, yes.
Oh, we weren't able to see them in Titanium.
Huh? You didn't see?
Yeah, I was looking for them. We weren't able to find them.
How come you didn't? Okay, I will go look at it again. And if it is closed, I will open for you after class, okay?
Thanks.
Sorry. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we start in chapter 10. Okay. Now, sorry, don't need that. Now, on the Thursday, I'm not going to ask it these things, but I want you to study it, even if it is not on your quiz, okay? I don't know how much time we have. I'm just going to be at the beginning. These are just a review of your math. So basically, until now, we always just work with the DC sources, okay, direct current. Chapter 9 is for 309, Dr. Shiva, which is usually he teach for electrical engineering. When they take the course 309, they cover chapter 9 on course 309. So it's not on 2 or 3. So that's why we jump to chapter 10. So for the remaining of this month, we're going to just cover chapter 10 and chapter 11. 10 and 11 is work with the sinusoidal signal. Now, which is the cosine or sine function. And if you guys had a Fourier transform, but don't worry if you don't have it, so don't worry about this equation. I'm just telling you the basic. If you know the response of the circuit for any sinusoidal function, like for sine or cosine, because using Fourier transform in a math, Fourier series, any other function can be expanded in terms of the cosine and sine. Then, if I know the response for the cosine function or sinusoidal function, because I can expand any other function in terms of the sum of this cosine and sine, using superposition, you can calculate the response for any other function f of t. So that's why this sinusoidal response in engineering very important. Of course, we are not going to cover in this class the getting a response for any other function f of t, but just giving you as a general information. If somebody knows the response of the circuit for a cosine function, they can calculate for sine, and using superposition and Fourier series, they can calculate the response for any other input. So that's basically what in a general we are talking. Now, today I'm just going to consider that you completely forgot everything. You don't know what is sinusoidal function for the remaining of the class. But you need to read these things before next class, okay? Everybody, because then I jump to the circuit analysis next class. Okay, I'm sure that about 80% of you knows this, maybe few of you forgot. If I have a sinusoidal signal like this one is called the amplitude or magnitude. Like if I plot this sinusoidal signal, these peak values we show with the Vm here, which is called amplitude or magnitude. Omega here is the radiant frequency, or called what? Angular frequency. The omega, if you remember, is equal to what? 2 pi f, where f here is the frequency, which is 1 over t. What is the t? The t is the period of your signal. I don't know I write it there or not. T is the period. So when I plot this sinusoidal signal, so this is the one complete cycle. The period is t, and sinusoidal is a periodic function, correct? So this is the period of that. The frequency here is the 1 over what? T, which is the unit is the hertz. What is the frequency? The number of the cycle in 1 second, correct? Is the number of the cycle in 1 second. So that's the review of that. You all hopefully know these things, correct? The t, or if I wanted to plot that, the t is the 360 degree. In the degree is 2 pi, 1 period, or in the time, if I use the axis time, is a t second, capital T second. If you use the omega t is what? 2 pi, the period. Is that clear? Any question? Okay, let's just do one simple example because you need to notice basic things to be started. If you don't know what is sinusoidal, how can I go into the analysis in that? So if I give you V of t is 50 sine of pi of t, Vm or the peak values is what? 50 volt. So how much is my omega? Because this is what? Vm sine of omega t, correct? So your omega is 20 pi. Omega is 2 pi f, another, so it's 20 pi. So from here, you can calculate for the frequency, which is 10 hertz. And the t is 1 over what? F, so it's 0.1 second. So your period in this example is 0.1 second. The magnitude is 50, and the what frequency is 10 hertz. Angular frequency is 20 pi. And how much is the pi? 3.14. Remember the number pi. Is that clear? I see chat. Okay, no question. Then, but in general, this one, the phase angle here is 0. In general, you may have a phase angle here. You have a signal like V2, Vm sine omega t minus theta. The theta here is called the phase angle of that, okay? Phase angle for V2. So if I plot the V1, which is the dashed line, when the theta is 0, started from 0, and V2, which is shifted by theta unit to the right. So this is your V2, the solid line, and the dashed line is what? V1. So then there is a phase angle difference between these two signals. The both signal in this example have the same magnitude, they have the same omega, same frequency, but there is phase difference. How much is phase difference between V1 and V2 is theta. The theta you can measure in degree and you can measure in what? T. Okay, so one more time, you plot the V1, which is this line. When T is 0, the phase angle is 0. Yeah. The second one is the same signal shifted by the theta to the what? Right. Shifted to the right, the solid. So there is a phase angle difference between these two signals. Now, when you comparing these two signals on phase angle, they should have the same frequency. We cannot measure the phase angle difference between two signals which have a different omega. So they should have the same omega. So both of them have the same frequency, same angular frequency. I wrote it for you. So this sentence is very important. To compare two sinusoidal wave in a phase or to measure the phase difference, the both of them should be either sine or cosine. And they should have the positive amplitude, they both, and they should have the same frequency. So when you want to measure the phase in this class, because we're going to do that, to measure the phase angle difference, they both should be either sine or cosine. But we're going to use cosine here. If it is sine, we change it to the cosine. They should have the positive amplitude because the negative values and positive 180 degree different. And they should have the same frequency. Is that clear? So this one everybody needs to know. These are the basic things, the math that we needed to do the sinusoidal analysis, okay? Now, here, one of them is leading, the other signal, the one lagging, okay? Here we write the V1 lead V2 by the theta. Even that shows that the theta V2 look, ahead on the time. But the V1 zero crossing is happened before V2, correct? So what we say here says V1 lead V2 or V2 lag V1. V2 lag V1. So which one passed the zero faster is what we say is V1. So here I will do the example for you to show it. One more time. Okay. They are very basic example here. Let's consider these two signals. I measure it, for example, did the analysis somewhere in a circuit, we calculate the current I1 and we calculate current I2. And the question is, what is the phase angle difference between them? Okay, can I compare them together? First, you look at it, they should have the same frequency, same angular frequency. Yes, this is omega is 100 pi, this is 100 pi. If this was 200, you say we cannot measure phase angle difference. They have to have the same frequency, which it is, okay? Then this is cosine, which is okay. But this one is a positive magnitude, this is a negative. So I'm going to change both to what? Positive. So I need to change I2. You know from trigonometry that if I want to change negative to positive, you added what? 180 degree. So if is a cosine, so I have to go through these things very fast, but you can go review these things if you forgot. So is a negative, you want to change to positive, you added what? 180 degree. So now my I2 is this one. You either added 180 or what? Subtract 180. So plus or minus 180. So both of them is correct. You can either use this or this. Correct now? Okay. So if it is, we're going to use in this class later, always cosine form. because if it is sine, we change it to the cosine later, okay? Because we're going to do phasor analysis. So we are going to use cosine. We're going to have a positive amplitude and what? Same frequency. Here you have two cosine, same frequency, negative, so you either add 180 or subtract. So if I add 180, you come here. If you subtract, you come here. Okay, if I use this, for example, now you want to measure the phase angle difference between this and this. So it's going to be what? 140 degree. This is minus 30, minus 170 is come to 140 degree. Okay. Now, which one is leading? I1 leads I2 by 140 degree. Or you can say I2 lags I1 by 140 degree. Is that correct? So both is correct. You can say I2 lags or I1 leads. Why I1 leading? This is happen at the, when you go get the, here you put this one 0, omega t for this one is 30, omega t for this one is what? 170. So this has happened before than this one. So I1 lead I2 by 140. If I use this one, the difference between this and this is minus 30 minus what? 190 is come to what? 220. 220 is a complement of this one. It's 360. So that is correct also. You know, you can use that one also, but this times you can say I1, this one happen at 30. This one omega t is 30 for I1. For other one is what? Minus 190. So this one, this times you say I1 lead, I1 lags I2 by 190. So the difference. So you can do either this or this, doesn't matter. Okay, any question here? Are you guys with me? Hello?
Yes. I think we're good.
You are good. Okay, so these basic things, leading, lagging, all of this I am preparing you. The reason I review these things, because I don't want, when I start to do circuit analysis, you say, oh, what is cosine, what is omega, what is leading, what is lagging? Okay, not supposed to review this, but I really want you to know all this. So these are kind of things you're going to do. Now, I don't know how many minutes you, okay, we have 15 minutes. Okay. Now, we're going to go to, for example, RL circuit with this. Oh, by the way, I'm going to leave the solution for homework number 9. I don't know how much I cover, but maybe the first few problems you should be able to do it. But that homework number 9 is also review this kind of thing. Okay, sorry, instead of doing these things, remind me I do later. I want to review for you because it's end of the class. Complex numbers. Okay. We will come back to this thing. Remind me, I will do on Tuesday. Because another things you need to know and is the complex numbers. Now, we're going to use the complex numbers to do the problem of these chapters, okay? So it is the must. And I know some of you completely forgot and you are weak because teaching this class for 35 years, I know a student, half of the students don't know this thing. Now, I will review in my note. It is in your appendix 5 of your book, or you can read from your math books, okay? So let's just do this kind of the basic thing. This is on the new books. Appendix 5, I guess, old book, Appendix 4. Okay, so read this material before Thursday. How many of you just answer chat again? If there is a, for me, it's easier you ask instead of chatting because I close my chat way. Oh, there is just a yes. Yeah. Okay. Sometimes if you don't want to, yes and no, don't do in the chat because I close that page. So, but it's okay if you want to ask question and you don't want somebody here. Okay. So let's go to complex numbers. Just answer me yes and no to see in the chat how much I hear. Do you remember that? Do you wanted I review this complex numbers? How many yes?
Yes.
Yes.
So I just have a quick question. I'm used to using I, so do you guys just replace I with J?
Yes, that book they use I with J in the
okay.
and the book the J is that. Okay. So let's just go review complex numbers for the remaining of the class. And then we start the real lecture later on the Thursdays, okay? So you mostly concentrated, you're supposed to do on the break the homework 7 and 8, correct? But do that if you didn't, and this review section of the complex numbers. Okay. See, why we use a complex number? See, if you come in a math with a number like this, x squared minus 5, you never get, there is no real number like this, that you square it and be negative, correct? So that's why we use the imaginary operator, which is j or what? I, that you used to use the I in the math, which is in this book, they use the J. The reason we use J because we don't want you confused with the caret. We use I for the caret, correct? So we use J here for the imaginary operator. So your J here, or I is negative 1. Your square root is what? Minus 1. J power of 3 is going to be what? Negative J4 is 1. That's the math. So that's why instead of negative 1, I can put J squared, correct? So if I want to get the X, it's going to be the square root of that, which is plus or minus J square root of 5. So basically, to visualize this, to be easier to get this, we use the Cartesian system. So how we use the Cartesian system, the x-axis shows your real number, and y-axis shows your imaginary axis, correct? So your J is on the imaginary axis, and the real number is here. So if I have a point in this plane, complex plane that we call real and imaginary, the A, which I show it as a plus JB, the A is the real component, B is what? Imaginary component here. So A is on the horizontal axis, B is on what? Vertical axis. A is called the real component, real part of the A. B is called the imaginary component of the A. Is it correct so far? And what is the J here? So you used to have like this, A plus IB, correct? Real component, imaginary component. So you write like this one. Now, so if I have, for example, A is 2 plus J3. So the real part is 2, imaginary part is what? 3. Your B is 3, A is 2, B is 3. Is that clear? Okay, now, these complex numbers, we can show in a rectangular form like this, or trigonometric or exponential. They are different forms to show it. Because if I connect this point A to the origin, I can show this with one arrow, with the length with one vector, or that the length of this arrow is r, the angle that make with the real number I show with theta, correct? Now, look into this triangle in the math, your A is equal to what? R cosine of theta. Your B is R sine of theta. Is that correct? A is R cosine of theta. B is R sine of theta. If I connect A to the origin and this length, I show with the R, these vectors, the length of the vector, and the angle with the real axis with theta, I can write A and B, the real component is R cosine theta, the imaginary component, which is this, is R sine theta. Is that correct? So I can put instead of A and B here. Now, if I factor the R between them, you get cosine theta plus J sine theta. You know from math, from Euler identity, that this is equal to exponential of J theta. So if you remember Euler identity, or Euler, I don't know, Euler identity is equal to what? You can always expand this exponential as a cosine theta plus J sine theta, correct? Do you guys remember this? So using this, I can also show the complex number A as a R exponential of J theta, which is called exponential form. So this form called trigonometry, this is called exponential form. Here, the amplitude is R, the angle is what? Theta. Amplitude or magnitude is R, the angle is theta. Sometimes they show it like this. They just put R, instead of write the exponential, they put angle and they put angle here. This is called polar form. So there are 4 ways actually we show them point A. Rectangular form, where is it? Trigonometric form, exponential, polar form. Now the question is, how can I get the R and theta in terms of the real A and B? Okay, look into this triangle. Your R square is A square plus what? B square, correct? So your R is just a square root of the square of the real, square of imaginary. See, this one. Amplitude is a square of the real part plus a square of what? Imaginary component. And you get the square root. To get the theta, the angle theta is a tangent, because the theta, you will get what? What is the tangent of this? Tangent of the theta, see, tangent of the theta is B over A. So your theta is an inverse tangent of B over A. So it is an inverse tangent of imaginary component over real component. Okay, is any question in this page? Do you recall these things now? Answer me, please.
Yeah.
Everybody,
Yes.
any question? Okay, so you need to know these things. I know you had it, but you have to read it. Okay, so let's just do one example. So I think that you forgot everything, because I don't want, again, you miss the exam because you don't know complex number. Circuit part for this chapter, 10 and 11 is very simple after all these examples we did. So it's going to be very simple mesh analysis, nodal analysis. So students usually on the final grade or on the midterm, with my experience, they don't get a good grade because they don't know the complex numbers. Okay, so I don't want to, that's what I'm reviewing these things for you. Okay, let's consider this point. Like A is given as a 4 plus 2j. So how much is the real values? 4, correct? How much is imaginary? So if I want to show this, it's 4 here, 2 here. So this is going to be your number A. This is real axis. This is what? Imaginary axis. So this is 2, this is 4, correct? That's A, that's B. Okay. Now, if I want to change this to exponential form, because we needed to go back and forth when we want to do our complex number calculation. For the adding, I need rectangular form. For multiplying, I do rectangular or exponential. So we have to go back and forth. Okay, we can calculate the R is a square of the A. R square is A square plus what? B square, correct? So that's why R is a square of the real plus a square of the imaginary, you get a square root. How we get the angle theta is inverse tangent of imaginary over real, correct? So I can write this A as this form, exponential form, because A is R exponential of j theta. You got the R, you got theta. Or most of the time we just show like this. You write R, you put angle here. So all the same things. Is that correct? If I wanted, if I give you this now, this is from rectangular to exponential. But let's go back now. If I give you this and you want to change to rectangular, so what you're going to do, your real part is your A is R cosine of theta. So your A is R, which is 4.47 cosine of this. Your B is R sine of theta. So you go says 4.47 sine of this. So when you do calculate this in your calculator, you get 4 plus J2. So you have to learn how to go rectangular to exponential. If I give you polar or exponential, change it to rectangular. So is everybody learned that?
Yeah.
We're doing okay. So back and forth. Rectangular, you get the real is R cosine. Imaginary R sine. So this is the A. This is your B, correct? Okay, now, then we need to know add or subtract. Adding always in a rectangular form. You cannot add it in an exponential form. You cannot subtract in an exponential. So adding always rectangular, correct? Or subtracting rectangular. So if you have two numbers, which they are exponential, you need to change it back to the rectangular. So which is very simple. If I add, I have two rectangular, A and B. If they are polar, you change to rectangular, then you want to add it. So you add the real part, which is 3 plus 5. You factor the j, you add the exponent, the imaginary, you get this. Subtract, same way. Okay, A minus B. Is that clear? Anyone have question on these things? So the only thing you need to know is you have to change it to rectangular. So you just add it or subtract the same as the numbers you do. Like when I say A minus B, you write 3 minus J4 minus 5 minus J12. So you have 3 minus 5 is negative 2. You factor the negative J. You have 4 plus what? 12. So it's come negative 2 minus J16, which you got. Question here. Okay, how can I multiply or divide? You can do either way. You can do in a rectangular, in an exponential form. Usually exponential is easier. If you have it exponential from beginning, you don't need to change it. But if you have a rectangular, you don't need to change to exponential also if you want it. So let's just do it, generally show you. Say you got, imagine I gave you these numbers. A, we will do numerically later, like this. Correct? And B is another number. This is rectangular, this is exponential form, correct? If I want to multiply in exponential, is like this. A times B, you write it R1 exponential of J theta 1, R2 exponential of J theta 2. When you multiply two exponential, what you do? You add the power, correct? So you have R1 times R2, you're adding the angles because see, I need to write this one for you. You have R1, R2, exponential of J when you're multiplying these two, theta plus T2, correct? So the angle is theta plus T2, the amplitude is the product. Is that clear? Now, when you're dividing A2 over B, you have R1 exponential of G2, R2 exponential of G2, G theta 1, G theta 2. So what you're doing here, A divided by B is R1 over R2, exponential of J. When you go put this one in the numerator, you have what? You have exponential of J theta 1. Let's multiply the numerator and denominator with exponential of J theta minus. You don't need to do these things, but in order you do. This and this, when you add it, they cancel. Exponential of the 0 is 1. So that's why you're subtracting here. So you say it's R1 over R2, exponential of J, theta 1 minus T2. So when you divide it, you're subtracting the angle. When you multiplying, adding the angle. Question here? Okay. Maybe there are some chat. Let's say check my chat. Okay. So no question. Okay. Now let's do one example. Like I gave you this, 3 minus J4. You change it to the polar is this. You know how to change it from last example. B is given in a rectangular form, you change it to 4, okay? So what this one mean? This means 13 exponential of J, 67.4, correct? The same thing here. Now, if I want, what they doing? Oh my God, okay. This is mistakes in the writing, what they did. If I wanted to say, sorry, I trying to multiply them. What they did here is first, let's just go to do this one, A times B. How you going to do A times B here? Is going to be 5 times 13, correct? You added the angle, which is minus 53.1 plus 67.4, correct? So it's going to be 5 times 13 is 65. You add this angle is 14.3. Clear? But if I wanted to add it in a rectangular form, how you going? Can I write it for you here? Because that one I just write the answer, but it is this. A times B, for those of you who have questions, is 3 minus J4 times 5 plus J12. You just multiply the regular. 3 times this parenthesis is 15 plus J36 minus J20. J times J is negative 1. Negative, negative is positive, so it's come 48, correct? So you multiply 10 by 10, then you add the real component, which is 15 plus 48. And I factor the j is come to a 36 minus 20. So it's come to what? You added these two numbers, 63 plus j 60. That's what I write it here for you. So you can multiply in a rectangular form and then change it to the polar, or what? Multiply polar from beginning. So if I have from originally, if you don't have these two, you can multiply 10 by 10, get this answer. Or if they give, if you want, you can change to exponential and multiply like that. Is that clear? See, if I give you multiply rectangular form, now if you want to change, get the r is the square root of the real plus square of the imaginary, which when you calculate that, is come to what? R is going to be the answer 65. The theta imaginary over real, the inverse tangent is 14.3. Any question here? Question? Now, dividing, always better in the exponential form. But if you don't have it and you have to do rectangular, we can do it also, which I show you now. So in a exponential, you just subtract the angle. 5 divided by 30, subtract the angle, okay? Now, let's go to this example showing you how we do rectangular for the complex. If I have 1 minus j3 divided by 2 plus j, to review for you, if you recall what you do, you multiply numerator and denominator with the complex conjugate. What is the complex conjugate? You change j to negative j. See, if I give the number like b is 2 plus j, the complex conjugate of that, which we show with the star here, is 2 minus j. Is that clear? If I multiply any number with a complex conjugate, what happens? B times b is 2 plus j times 2 minus j. If you multiply 10 by 10, is always square of the real plus square of the imaginary. Just multiply 10 by 10, because j square is what? Negative 1. So what we do in a rectangular form, multiply numerator and denominator with complex conjugate. Then you multiply 10 by 10, you simplify. In the denominator, always is going to be square of the real, square of the imaginary here, which is 5. Then you just go ahead and divide. So that is the way you do for in the rectangular form. Do you want more example here? Is anyone have question on these things? Are we doing okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, everybody. So you need to know these things. Like, oh, one more thing is that, look at this example. This is a good example, and the example student sometimes have a mistakes on that. Okay. Now, this example, if you know how to do this example, don't read it on the home. Go ahead and do the calculation yourself and verify your answer with my answer. Then you know that you know complex numbers, okay? So try to do it at home, this. But anyhow, I will go to this example. Look at the C and C prime. C and C prime. I gave you 5 plus J5. C prime is what? Negative 5 minus negative J. When you put in your calculator, the angle for both of them come the same. But this one, you have to add it 180 degrees. Why? Because look at that. So you don't just go to the No, your calculator, some of your calculator doesn't do that one. See, when you want to get the angle, you say it's inverse tangent of the imaginary over real, which is an inverse tangent of the 1 is come to 45. For this one also, -5 over -5 is 1, so it's 45. But for this one, this is in which quadrant? The first one is here. That's your C. Real and imaginary is 5, correct? But C prime is here. Is the real part -5? Imaginary -5 is here. This is C prime, correct? So the angle for this is 45. But what is the angle for C prime? You have to add it 180. Is that clear? So not for the problem like this, you have, whenever you put in the calculator, at the same time, you have to be aware that, do I need to add 180 degree or add 90 degree or not? So you have to see that which quadrant it is. So don't just count on your calculator, because then you're just going to put for C prime also 45. But C prime, the angle is what? 45 plus 180. Is that clear? Yes?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So please be careful about these things. Now, I gave you this calculation. Like, for example, on the exam, you're going to have something like this, and you needed to do the calculation. So as an exercise, as a review for yourself, to know that you really know how to work with complex numbers, and go work with your calculator. Try to learn how your calculator works with the complex numbers, okay? I don't care that if you're doing yourself or the calculator, do that. Because for me, it's not checking you on complex numbers. I want to get just the right answer. So this weekend, not this weekend, until Thursday, try to do this example as a practice yourself and work with your calculator to see you can get the answer right, okay? So that is the review of the sinusoidal, review of the complex numbers, and we need to know these few pages, complex numbers, and that before we start the next class. Okay, so see you on Thursdays.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you for
Professor, real quick.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any question?
Yes, Professor.
Yes.
Could you just review the procedures for the quiz one more time for Thursday?
For quiz, as I said, is a testing. I don't know, I'm going to try. I'm going to bring it the question for you here. And at the same time, I put in titanium and open exactly at the same time that the class starts, okay? So you can see there, but the best one may be you can just see in the class, get a picture, solve it in a piece of the paper, and download it on the titanium for me. When I say by 20 minutes, you have 20-minute time to download it. Some of you finish in a 5 minutes, you download it that time. Some of you finish, but maximum I give you 20 minutes to download it, the answer for titanium. I trust you that you are doing yourself, not sending the picture to each other. And I will really appreciate if you leave your video open for me and I can check you guys. Because that's the way that I see that, how that we're going to do finals. Okay. So
okay.
Hope you have the video in your computer. Is that okay?
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I have a desktop and I don't have like any camera on mine, so how would I do that?
You don't have video?
No, it's like a desktop computer. It's not a laptop with a camera.
Oh, it's not a laptop. You don't have any camera.
Well, like I think I could use my phone, but it's gonna be hard to see like the picture of the quiz on there. So could I like use both maybe?
Yeah, you can use both.
Okay, I'll just sign in then with my name twice, I guess. one
Okay.
for the camera and one for so I can see the quiz then.
Thank you. So
Okay.
Professor?
Yes.
Professor, quick question. You are gonna post solutions 7, 8, and 9.
Yes, the 9 you don't need to worry now, just this part that is part. So, but the quiz is going to be from 7 and 8.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, sure. I will do it after class right away now. If you didn't see it again, because you guys told me somehow wasn't open, I don't know why. So email me and I will go try to find it one. Okay? So
Professor, do you know when is the test?
the test, it is in your course outline. Is on the week of the May 7, 8, something like that. I don't know. Look at your course. I don't have my course outline here now with me. Somewhere on the second week of the May. Okay?
Professor,
Yes.
will it be possible to have office hours on Wednesday? If in
Uh,
case we have questions.
Wednesday, what time was my office hour? 12:30? No, 12 to 1? Yes.
Okay.
If not, email me if you saw that I'm not there.
Okay, so 12 to 1?
Yeah, 12 to 1. Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Sure. Any other question? Okay. So I'm going to end the meeting. See. Bye.
See you, Professor.
Bye. Bye.